talking about Oklahoma's class, which is still, I think, 6th or 7th in the country.
Yeah, 7th right now.
So how many hard commits do we have right now? We've got,
I think there's 22, if I remember, 22 or 23. So while you're looking, I'll just kind of hit on a couple of guys that Oklahoma's still recruiting hard and still is going to be a signing day, probably a signing day, or at least very close to that um, decision. So Peyton Bowen again is always the kind of the center. Peyton Bowen and DJ Hicks are the two that are kind of at the center of attention, just in terms of exactly what they're going to do. So we'll start with Peyton Bowen. So again, like like I've been told and like I've heard, that I think Bowen is eventually going to flip and go to Oklahoma. There's been a couple from his camp. I think he's really liked Oklahoma from the beginning. I mean it stands to reason that he really likes Oklahoma just because of the fact that he is that he has continued to visit Oklahoma time and time again. So I think there was a level of kind of getting the family completely on board. From what I understand, I think that's happened to a certain degree. So I think Oklahoma is in a very, very good spot here. With recruiting and these kids, you never know, but I think Oklahoma's in a very good spot. As you mentioned, one of the see here, a 5-star kid, one of the best players in the country. He's a guy that could be an instant impact guy, and I think it can't be. There's a couple of things that can't be undersold. Number one, he's high school teammates with Jackson Arnold. I think is big. Two, his girlfriend has signed an athletic scholarship to play soccer at Oklahoma. So I think those two things are big when you look at Peyton Bowen. And since we're talking about DJ Hicks, he's a guy again that has been it's been weird with him and A&M. I mean, we've chronicled how A&M has struggled down the stretch. We've chronicled how we've talked about this, how many guys that A&M has put in the transfer portal. Their recruiting isn't solid right now. It could get that way, but I think Oklahoma's in a decent spot right here. I'm not saying that they're in a great spot. I think they're very much in the mix right here. I think it's Oklahoma. I think Oregon's in the mix as well, as well as Oklahoma. There's a certain bidding war that's going on right now with Hicks. And to be honest, if it's a bidding war, no one's going to match A&M. If that's truly the kids, and I don't think that's specifically the case with David Hicks right here. But if it's truly a bidding war, nobody is going to outbid A&M on any of these kids. Nobody. I'm talking about Alabama, Texas, no one. So I think what Oklahoma staff is kind of counteracting and with here, and the selling point is where they're kind of preaching development, because Oklahoma's defensive line developed and started to get a little bit better as the season went on, and he noticed that, and that's something that has really intrigued him. So again, he's going to be a signing day guy. I think that we won't find out. Could find out, but I think he's another kid that they'll wait on. Another one to think about is Tasuli Akana. He is a edge kid out of Utah. This is another one of those situations with Akana. Venables has been the lead recruiter for him the entire time. He doesn't typically, going back to his days, even here at Oklahoma, his days at Clemson, he doesn't miss on too many of these ones where he typically, in every cycle, he's got one guy that he really, really wants, and that he will target, and so he doesn't, those that he sinks his teeth into, he doesn't miss on those. So had a really good visit there. And I think he's going to be he's a guy he doesn't say a lot. So he doesn't, he's not a big social media guy. So there's really only one prediction out there for him, and Oklahoma's got that one. But I think all signs seem to indicate him coming to Oklahoma. He's a number 14 in the 247 composite, number 14th ranked edge in the country, 4-star guy, very high 4-star guy. So I don't know at this point he could get to a 5-star, but as I mentioned, very high 4-star. A couple of other ones to keep your eye on. Damian Sanford, again, he's a commit. He's already committed to Texas A&M. High school teammate of DJ Hicks. I think it was kind of one of those things that's been thought of, that if Oklahoma is able to get Sanford to flip from A&M to Oklahoma, then really it speaks volumes, and I think would help to entice DJ Hicks. He's another. I mean, Damian Sanford's a 4-star. Sanford, I'm sorry, is a 4-star kid as well. And then the last one which is a little bit of he's kind of off the radar. Eno Etta, who is a 4-star defensive lineman. He's committed to Michigan right now. Oklahoma's got in the door. Had some visits with him that have been very, very. I mean, I think at first it was a little bit kind of flirtatious, so to speak, on both sides. But I think it's gotten some very, very serious attention from Oklahoma, and I think there's mutual interest, I think, at this point for Oklahoma and Etta. So he's 6'4", 260 defensive lineman, out of a 4-star kid. So very, very high guy. Again, as you can see, Oklahoma's really looking at, kind of stockpiling some of those guys from a defensive line perspective. When you look at Etta, when you look at Akana, and then obviously DJ Hicks as well.